So greetings, friends, Earth Monkeys, to our kickoff session of my particular brand of what we call compassion at work. And I do have slides because I am a marketeer and I cannot be stopped from making slides. So I will share that just to give you an idea. We're here for 15 minutes. I'm going to share two concepts that are about the topic of compassion, and hopefully it will be clear why I think they're useful, how they can help those of us who might have, stress or a desire for maybe a little relief here in our workday. So that being said, wherever you are, just settle into a comfortable seat, take a deep, deep, deep breath, and just get ready to hopefully learn some fun things. If you are like our friends with the large cups of coffee and you're still enjoying that, or your Christmas in a cup, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, we are going to get started. So again, this is 6 weeks that we're planning to be together. And the idea of the concepts here are to put in place, maybe learn, but definitely put in place some concepts that I learned from a course I'm taking over at the Stanford C-Care part of the School of Medicine. And then as we learn and examine them, we'll experiment with seeing how they fit on us for our work/personal lives. And then I know EM people have shared this concept before, but the concept of ikigai, and I like this diagram because it shows how it is possible that there can be an intersection between the things we love doing, what we are good at, what the world needs, and what we can get paid for. There really is, hopefully, a way that we can bring all of that together into that center little overlapping thing that is the ikigai concept. So that's my goal. That's the vision. It's nothing that we're going to study in the classes, but I love getting started with that. I'm going to skip through what we'll cover, but we are on week 1 right now. And briefly, I think you guys all know me, but this is my history on a page: farm girl, theater major, tech nerd, mom, wife, beagle lover, cyclist yogi, and last but not least, compassion advocate. So let's hop into compassion, shall we? Before we do, talking a little bit about you, if you've got pen and paper handy, I'd like you to just write down, and it doesn't have to be work related, but just write down, if you have 3 wishes, what they would be. And it can be anything, but I would just love you to explore what is important to you. What if there is something that you totally wish for, and it can be extravagant, decadent, work-related, personal, completely ludicrous. Anyhow, write down 3 things. And you might ask, why are we doing this? I have a reason. The things that we wish for, they kind of talk to the things that are important to us. And one of the things that we talk about in compassion, compassion starts from recognizing how things could be perfect, but probably aren't. Suffering is a recognition that things aren't exactly as they could be, should be. And the things you wished for, whether they seem silly or frivolous, they're driven by your values. The things that are important to you will drive you to notice the things that aren't as they could be, should be. So you might not go so far as to say that you are suffering or that the world is suffering, but just for the sake of what we're going to talk about, that is a term we'll come back to. And why suffering is important as a base for compassion is how this program defined it, is that compassion is noticing the pain and the suffering in yourself or others, but coupled with a desire to alleviate the suffering with action. And that's really important. Compassion is a noticing. It is not a whitewashing. It is not a Pollyanna, but it is a noticing that is tied to the concept of action. And why that's important is a lot of people talk about empathy, and empathy is real and it is important, but it is not necessarily tied to action. And therefore it can actually, and what I've got here on the slide is a whole lot of medical observations. And again, happy to share any and all of this as it's useful. And the one thing that I will share is if you guys have time later, because we're trying to be very time efficient in these lunchtime sessions, but there is a particular dark side to empathy in that it can emotionally kill us. It can overload us. The medical concept is called empathetic distress, where you're feeling so much, but you don't have an outlet. Whereas compassion is a noticing that ties into the part of the brain that has feelings, but also is open and looking for action. So that's a little bit what we're going to work on in this 6-week session, is to get very, very able to notice things, able to discern what the right actions might be, and how to take care of ourselves along that way. So this was a really key concept that I wanted to share today. I put the longer, it's a 7-minute video. The BBC does a great job of sharing how empathy can be dangerous and consider perhaps compassion as a adjacent concept. So I can take any questions on this after the 15 minutes, but for right now, I'm going to carry on with the other concept I really, really wanted to share today. And this one, again, if you have pen and paper, I'm going to cut to the chase. What we have to do before we can look for and apply compassion is we have to open up a space within ourselves that is frequently clouded by what's called the negativity bias. And long story short, it is your ability to focus on the things, how you feel you're not all you could be. And there is an exercise that I'm going to lead right now that can help a little bit with a reset. So if you got pen and paper, I'm going to ask you to do 3 columns, and it's all written down here on the slide. If you're more of a visual person, go ahead, read what's on the slide. Otherwise, I will lead you through it right here. And first things first, this is a little 3-by-3 column. If there are 3 character traits that you dislike about yourself, please write them down right now. Be honest, I'm not going to ask anybody to share, but we all have things we beat ourselves up about. And when I did this concept for the first time in January, it changed my life a little bit. So I'm a huge proponent. Now, having written down 3 things you might say about yourself, I will share. The first one in my column is lazy. I grew up on a farm, and you never feel like the work is done, because frankly, it's not. So that's something, for whatever reason, I have that in me. But now, in the second column, you're going to find an adjective that means similar things, but it's how your mom or somebody who knows you and loves you deeply and with compassion, how would they reframe that? So look at your 3 adjectives in the leftmost column, and then look at each one and look at a way you might reframe it. For example, for my lazy one, my mom's like, girl, they pay you for 8 hours, you work 8 hours, you are not lazy, you have boundaries. So again, perhaps it doesn't work for you right now, but be open to a reframing and look at how the things in your character are actually possibly a way to look at them is how you choose to be, how you need to be, how you are in a way that is not beating yourself up, not listening to the negative self-talk voice in your head. So anyhow, that's second column. And then third column, all of you, I suspect, have lots of friends who think you're delightful, who think you're outstanding. And if you can, in that third column, just throw a few adjectives that they would put there about you and revel in that. And for myself, that third column did not contain it. I have very exuberant friends, and I had like 12 adjectives that sprung out of thinking about what my friends would say about me. And, just the shit that comes out at happy hour and the adjectives that are really true about me. And so why we do this, why we have the 3 columns, is studies showing how to address the negativity bias. We tend to, it takes 2 positive things to reset a negative thing. And, it's because we've got that voice in our head that constantly points out our flaws as if we don't already know them. Thank you, Taylor Swift. So those were our 2 concepts for today, the wish list, and we'll come back to our wishes and how they're tied to our values in future sessions. This resetting of our negativity bias, I hope you wrote it down. I hope you can reflect on it, because it will bring out your inner badass. It will build a resilience and confidence that I think we really need to be able to exercise self-compassion and then offer compassionate action to others and to build compassionate spaces. So those were our concepts, and we're going to have time in future sessions for a little deeper meditations. But right now, I'm just going to lead a little 2-minute meditation for you. So wherever you are right now, let your sitting bones connect down into whatever you're sitting on. With a deep inhale, you're going to lift the crown of your head just a tiny little bit taller up towards the heavens. And then we're going to take 3 more deep breaths, and you're going to listen to the sound of the inhale and listen to the feeling of the exhale. On your next inhale, you're going to visualize what it looks like that your air comes in and out of your body. On your exhale, you're going to taste the taste in your mouth and just notice that sense, that emotion, that feeling. On your next inhale, I'm going to ask you to notice any smells that are in the room. And if it helps to bring your wrist to your hand for just a little more connection to our sense of smell, let it go. Exhaling. And now with your next inhale, visualize that all of your senses are stacking up within you so that you can be really aware of what you're feeling, what is going on in your body, in your mind. And now we're going to take 1 more deep breath all together, maybe stretching the hands out to the side, up to the skies, letting the palms come together and letting the hands drop to heart center. So for those of you who took a little time for compassion today, I know we didn't do a lot of embodying the exercises. We'll have a little more time in future classes, but I had 2 concepts I had to get through today. So hopefully it was useful. Hopefully you can join us again next week for session 2. All right, happy to stick around and talk longer, but I really did want to respect the whole 15-minute invitation rule. So rock and roll, EMers.
Thank you, Suzy.
So welcome. Thank you.
I'll stick around because I think.
Thank you, Suzy.
So
Yeah, some
welcome.
of this sounds interesting. I'll stick around.
Yeah. And any questions, any concepts? Kathy, you've seen the material. You know what's coming next. We've got more relaxation for the mind after we look at the factors of burnout. We have got more relaxation and addressing of the mind after we kind of look at the idea of triggering thoughts. And then lots and lots of good stuff about compassion comings up in week 3, 4, and 5.
Great. I actually really like this negativity bias exercise, and I feel like I'm gonna have my son do it.
Right. I do this with my college kids. I'm like, guys, what does your mind say about yourself? And obviously, the mind, that voice keeps us focused, but honestly, let's just be fair about how. So this exercise is actually called humility. The med school people call it the humility exercise because the Latin for humility means grounded, means accurate. And so often our self-talk voice is just inaccurate. So it's not wrong, but is it accurate?
If you had more time, how would you dive in deeper on some of these concepts?
Well, ladies and gents, this is how I typically end my first session about compassion at work, because the at work actually means at work within ourselves, but I designed this to be used in the workplace, and so many managers sit through the first section and they're sort of interested in it, but then they're like, this would never fly to my bosses. So Jeff, do you remember the ROI slide? I have peer-reviewed data showing this makes you better employees. We have retention, we have engagement, we have all the stuff that would let you justify spending time on this. So that's always fun.
Big
Data, we love our data. So, and then typically, I gave you guys the 2-minute meditation session. It's typically a 5 to 8 minute meditation. That is just a little bit better for the brain. And if you guys want to do it now, I've got this room, this lovely meditation room till 12:30. And Jeff, I know, would go in for another 5 to 8 minutes of meditation. So
I will do it. I will do it. I need to learn to meditate more.
yeah.
So
Yeah, so this meditation is actually the practices that they taught us here, and it's based on a load of it's actually 4 different meditation concepts. It is mindfulness meditation, phase 1. It is mantra meditation, which is to say, those people who've signed up and learned the whole it's in what's the like super popular thing that all the Hollywood celebrities do. Yeah, well, so our second part, using the mantra, is exactly how they teach it. It's got a name. It'll come to me. The third part is a loving kindness meditation, very big in Tibet. And the fourth part is a visualization exercise that they teach at the med school to help people learn new stuff, because it's really important that we keep our brains sharp and shiny. So here we go. This is my go-to 5 to 8 minute meditation. And again, starting with as much comfort in your sitting position as you can find. Some people do it lying down for ultimate comfort. They are people who do not wander off to sleep, which I would, so I don't. But we're going to spend a little time paying attention to the sensations of the body. And so for this longer session, we actually start down at the feet, and I'd like you to wiggle your toes and just notice the actual feeling, the sensation in the feet. If you want to point and flex to get a little more aware of them, and then notice the sensation of them connecting with whatever's underneath them. We're going to take a scan through the legs, knees, and notice anything that might be sore, anything that might need a little bit of TLC breath attention, maybe a little massaging. Go ahead. We're going to pause at the hips, a place where we frequently have pain and hold tension. So if there's any clenching that you can release, go ahead and do that. And then as we travel up through the spine, notice anything, any pain, any sensations in our core, in our belly, in our heart area. And then take a deep, 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 deep breath. Breathe in as deeply as you can so that you really feel the lungs like as full as they can be, and then let it go. And with that exhalation, let the shoulders relax. Bring your scan out through the upper arms, the elbows, the wrists, the hands. Just notice anything, any pain. If you want to massage your forearms, your wrists, your hands, go ahead. And then finishing up our body scan in the neck, the jaw, the face. And look, we have let ourselves come all the way up to our thinking area. So as we come to our thinking area, we'll probably notice that we've got some thoughts which are pretty active today. Midday, we've probably got some work thoughts going on, but being as we have rich, full lives with people and pets, we probably have other thoughts there too, and that's good. It is what we do. Our brain makes thoughts. We take action from those thoughts, but for a moment, we're going to ask those thoughts to take a pause while we are going to, with directed purpose, summon what's called a mantra. It's the Sanskrit for a thought vehicle. And a mantra helps us to focus. It helps us to relax. Now, there's 2 kinds of mantras. Some people like the sound-based mantra, and you can't get any better than the Om Shanti. Beautiful sounds. But last week, one of my teachers introduced the concept of using on the inhale the phrase, I am loved, and on the exhale the phrase, all is well. So for 6 breaths, I'm going to ask you to hear either the sound of the phrase on the inhale, the sound of the phrase on the exhale, or you may use whichever pleases you. Ready? Here we go. And if your mind wandered, it's okay. It's what it does, but gently invite it back. Rewrap the mantra around it or tuck yourself into the mantra. One more. and let it go. All right. So moving on from the calming of the body, the focusing of the mind, we are now going to go fill your heart. And again, our heart, our emotions, we are so driven, so energized by our values, and we get our values from people who have invested in us. So to fill ourselves, I'm going to ask you to think of the face of a person who knows you, who loved you, and who has invested in you, your future, your being here. And as you picture their face, imagine taking in all that they have to give you. And now picturing another person who knows you, who delights in you. Just maybe hear what they would have to say to you right now. Maybe imagine what it would be like to be with them. Let those sparkles, let that warmth come into your heart. And now you can either pick a third person, or if you are open to what the universe, what the spiritual has to give to you, take that in right now. All right. And now, having received so much, it is now very powerful that we direct it outward. And it might feel like a meaningless exercise, but it is not. This loving kindness meditation really makes changes in your actions, in your interactions in the world. So, picking a person you know who might be having some suffering right now, picturing their face. And as you picture their face, send these phrases, these intentions. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live in peace. Picturing another person. And maybe this is somebody you don't know very well. Maybe you don't know they're suffering, but rest assured they have it. And as you picture their face, send these same intentions. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live in peace. Now, to where it is truly important, picture yourself either at this moment today, maybe yourself as a little kid, an anxious teenager, or maybe take yourself to the place where you are a little bit older and again, in need of compassion, in need of support, and send these phrases. Accept these phrases. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live in peace. In future classes, we'll take it even broader. We'll do even more with it. But for right now, we're going to finish with what's called the transformation technique. It's a visualization meditation exercise where, with your right hand open, if you made a little wish list earlier today, just pick the thing that was number one on the wish list. And as you close your right hand, say in your head the three things that are not quite right, the three things that are actual suffering. And it's a specific situation, so just three aspects of it. What is not as it could be? So we notice, we accept that suffering is real. And now we're going to also close the left hand, but with our attention towards that left hand, take yourself to a place, maybe it's a year from now, maybe it's next week, where this thing could be made right, could be perfect, could be exactly your wish come true. And just, again, name three things within that new situation that are shiny, that are so wonderful, that are just beyond belief. And now, letting both hands come open, maybe open on your lap, there's the concept of the single skillful action. Because let's face it, you are not able, it is not your job to fix everything in this world suffering. Even if you made the wish, you may only have a small part to play in it. Maybe you have a big part, but choose right now one thing that might be your action to take, or your phrase to say, or your thing to put on your to-do list. Maybe something arises, and again, maybe something doesn't right now, but maybe it will. By opening up your brain, your wonderful brain that we truly only use about 5 to 10% of, within there might be a silver bullet. And we won't know until we ask, we open, let ourselves open to it. And now, taking both hands to heart center, we finish today's meditation, relaxing the body, focusing the mind, opening the heart, and maybe looking for our place in the reduction of suffering. Namaste, y'all.